My role in the NFL Brain and Spinal Cord Injury Prevention Committee is I chair the subcommittee that's developing the clinical and research database, and we hope to collect a great deal of information to help better understand concussions and to better understand what we can do to make the sport safer. So we're going to try to be collecting things like genetic profiling of players, having helmets that are equipped with accelerometers so we can look at the forces that apply to the head through practice sessions or games, and then correlate those forces with type of play, weather conditions, field surface, a lot of different data that we could put in and analyze. For instance, we might find that someone with a particular genetic profile, there are some genes that seem to predispose to Alzheimer's disease later on. The person with that genetic profile playing a particular position would be at extraordinarily high risk for developing late life cognitive decline. In that case, it would be very valuable to those players to know that they had that kind of genetic profile before deciding whether or not to go into that field of activity. We'd also like to be able to look at a whole range of data and see if there's anything that could be modified in regards to equipment, playing surface, et cetera, that would reduce the risk of long-term neurological injury. There was a consensus panel in Zurich a couple of years ago that looked at all the available data with the question of what would be the best approach for returning athletes to play after a concussion. And the consensus of that panel was that it should be a graduated return to play over a longer period of time. 10 years ago, if a person had a concussion, as soon as that person was symptom-free, they would often be put back into the game, maybe even the same day. And athletes notoriously deny symptoms. The new guidelines suggest that there should be a period of both physical and cognitive rest, and then a gradual increase to return to play, even in asymptomatic patients. That takes about a week, so that people would be out of contact sports for a week. If they then were asymptomatic, could return to play. The concern is that athletes are motivated to play. They want to get back in the game. Coaches are motivated to get particularly their best athletes back in the game. But the guidelines serve as a way of reducing the risk of long-term neurological injury by returning to play too quickly. So I think that the idea of a graduated return to play makes sense based on what we know about the neurology, neuropathology, neuroscience associated with this, and it's certainly, from the standpoint of a parent, is the more appropriate way to get athletes back into the game. You know, I'm a parent. I've faced that and am facing that. I encourage my children to participate in sports, including contact sports. I think there's a great value in that. But I think that we need to do everything we can to make it as safe as possible, including better understanding of what might lead to long-term neurological problems, the best equipment possible, and safe return-to-play practices. So my advice would be don't avoid all contact sports. Encourage your children to be active in those if it's something that they enjoy. But we need to be careful in evaluating particularly students who get a concussion and making sure that they don't return to play too soon.